So whenever you're ready, Brenda, and we'll jump in.
Hold on, let me finish. I'm chewing a tater tot. Hold on.
Dear God.
Sorry.
How do you? Is it like a commitment to chew a tater tot? It's like 1, 2, and then you're done. It's.
Listen. I'm trying to get all the nooks and crannies out of it.
I just want to enjoy all this tater tot.
All done.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Dodgeball Podcast. In this episode, I'm coming back from my impromptu 2-week break to dive right into West Round 2 for the Elite Dodgeball organization. And here to join me returning is Brenda, and new to the panel, Alyssa. First of all, Brenda, let's go ahead and just introduce yourself, just in case people don't know who you are. We'll start with you.
My name is Brenda Kramer. I play on Finesse.
Fantastic. And Alyssa, since you're new, can you just go ahead and give us your full name, team you play for, and just brief dodgeball history?
Sure. My name is Alyssa Pandolfi. I play for Finesse as well. I started playing dodgeball about 4 years ago, first recreationally in the Bay Area in our rec leagues, and then on Ride or Die, and now on Finesse.
I was wondering because I was listening to the recap on the way over here to the studio, and I remember hearing Brenda talk about and Alyssa, and I was like, oh, I wonder if that's who it is, because I remember you being from the Bay Area. But have you commentated for dodgeball before?
No, this is my first time.
First time, awesome. Okay, cool. I forgot. I'll have to find out who recommended you, but somebody said you need to get Alyssa on here, so we did that, and I think you said you had a lot to say or you have some words, but it should be fun. Let's go ahead and just start with just like my typical go-to high level question of just what was we'll just do like your overall thought, like your biggest takeaways from round 2, and we'll start with you, Brenda.
I would say the biggest takeaway is that you can never underestimate any team, no matter what ball type or whatever. Every single team just seems to be improving a lot. And I still really enjoy the best of 7 series because it doesn't allow for a lot of luck. It just makes every single game, that much more fun to play, and we're grinding through every single game, and it gives you a chance to, like, if you mess up, you can fix it right then and there, playing against the same team. But yeah, every team seemed to have improved at least just a little bit from round 1.
Back in when we were recapping round 1, you said that your foam league kind of helped you with foam. And obviously, people that know you know that you're pretty much a monster with your CrossFit and your fitness. Did you ramp up your conditioning at all leading into round 2, or did you do anything different to prepare, or did you feel like you had a pretty good handle coming into it?
No, I'm still training a lot. My trainer and I are kind of tailoring my own training towards improving in dodgeball in whatever capacity that is. And so we took kind of what happened at round 1 and how I personally felt, like physically and mentally after the tournament, and we kind of shifted some things, added some more things, took some things out in terms of training, just to kind of prepare for round 2. So I think in that aspect, I was a little bit more prepared for the kind of grueling series and whatnot the whole day.
The coming tournament ahead. And how about you, Alyssa? So you've been playing for about 4 years, and you said you played for Ride or Die last year.
Mm-hmm.
And
the last 3 years before this year. Okay,
so you're no stranger to Elite then, by any means.
No.
Okay, awesome. And what was your really didn't get to your takeaways from round 1, obviously, but what was how did you gauge round 2? Like, how would you feel about that now that it's over and done with?
Yeah, I would definitely second everything that Brenda says. Just looking at the brackets and like seeing different teams' names going further in the brackets is really exciting. I would also add, and I've heard this phrase tossed around. I won't say that it's mine that I came up with, but I've heard that 2019 is the year of the catch. It's been tossed around both in co-ed and in women's. And I feel like the catching in games at this tournament especially was unbelievable. Like there were so many games decided by a catch, which was really cool and awesome to watch. I mean, you know, you hate to see a catch against your team, but sometimes you're like, that was such a good catch. I can't even be mad.
Right.
That was great. So yeah, for me, that was definitely something fun to watch.
So 2019 was the year of the catch. Just kind of a weird question. What would you say, just from your own opinion, what 2018 was?
Oh God, I don't even know. I don't know.
Because
that's a good question.
Yeah, because if I could just put myself in your shoes, for me, my perception of just talking to all the other regions, 2018 was the year of this crap is serious now. And if you are not acting like a real team, if you're not conditioning, you're not changing your diet, you're not doing, you know, the right things that normal athletic teams do, you're not going to hang. So 2018 or 19 being the year of the catch, I'm actually going to ask that to the other panels and see if that's something that, like, if there's a common theme, if that's how people would perceive it. But what about you, Brenda? Have you given any thoughts to that at all, or would you be able to kind of agree? Or
I hadn't heard that yet, but I like it. It's true though. Like the thing that's coming to the forefront of my mind right now, it's not women's, but in co-ed no sting, Alyssa and I also play together on Havoc, and Eric Jones like single-handedly beat us in round robin, or not round robin, in playoffs yesterday by just like catching. So that's the year of the catch. We're gonna roll with that, aren't we?
Yeah, let's make it a thing. Let's just start hashtagging and just it's from moving forward. 2018 or 2019 is the year of the catch, and
I want to find out who coined it.
Yeah, it's funny because and this is now it's gonna be a shameless plug. It was definitely not planned, but I want to do like a Ballast backed catch competition that was kind of inspired by Alicia DeManuel on basically if you get a sanctioned competition going and you win you win the most catches per night, I'll get you a t-shirt. So I don't know, it's one of those things where like maybe it's just a common theme that's just kind of permeating through everybody, but that works out for me really well. So
shameless plug.
Yeah, how ironic. But well, if it's I kind of want to just dig a little bit more into the overall with 2019, or excuse me, round two, just for continuity purposes. So last round was run by Ali Bustamante. Did she run it again this time as well?
Yeah.
Nice. And I don't know if I kind of want to say this one for later, but I just had to ask already. Was there an issue with banana bread this time, like with Paige? And like I don't know if you might not be aware of that, Alyssa, but there was like we talked about the
I'm aware. I'm fully aware of the banana bread situation.
Yeah, well, we talked about banana bread gate in the podcast, and I guess somebody brought banana bread and Paige just consumed all of it. She needed the calories and the fuel. But was there like a repeat, or did banana bread make its way to you guys again, or?
There was no banana bread this time.
There's just none.
It was a sad moment.
Okay.
Yeah, no banana bread, but
yeah,
there were some vegan biscuits.
I don't feel like that's as exciting as banana bread. Were they still?
There were some overpriced smoothies. Those smoothies are pretty good.
I have to.
They were a little pricey for my taste, but.
I have to re-listen to it again. Because I think I was supposed to be in on some kind of prank with Paige and banana bread, but then I also wasn't there, so that didn't help. But I do want to get back at her somehow for round 3. So this is not the end of banana bread. And I also wanted to ask, just because I was scrolling through Facebook and somebody put like a weird GIF of somebody dancing, asking how Karina's forehead is. Would any of you guys know what that might be about? She like
yes.
lit up or?
Alyssa, you want to take this one?
Oh God. Is
Do you
this,
know what
are
it
we
is?
discussing this? I do know what it is, but are we discussing this for the
Maybe
world?
I don't. Maybe we shouldn't then if it's not dodgeball related.
Uh,
Uh,
uh, I can
Awkward,
give
awkward
an
misses.
abridged version. I can give an abridged version. What
Okay.
I do know is that the forehead was a warm up gone wrong, in part because Karina was more tired than usual. I think, and we all kind of talked about this on Sunday, that everyone's body was hurting like extra. And there on Saturday, there was a lot of stop and go in between games, in part just because we had the 3 courts. So there was like a lot more sitting in between games, longer streaks of like 3 games on, 3 games off. So muscles were tired, injuries were happening. And I believe that that is what caused Karina's forehead injury.
Oh, so she like, she okay? Like this isn't something we should not be joking about, or is she like a little bump on the noggin, or like?
It was a little bump on the noggin.
Okay,
I don't think it affected her too deeply.
Okay, I was like, oh my god.
Maybe her pride more than physically, but
Okay.
that's about it.
Gotcha. Yeah, I was like, well, it's fun and games until someone says like they have a concussion or they go to the ER, and then I just feel terrible for talking about it. But I'm glad it's nothing too bad. Well, let's go ahead and go into just the brackets because I do want to cover both no sting and foam, and kind of just want to, kind of like we did last time. I'm not sure if you listened to Alyssa, but basically Brenda kind of walked me through her matches and what she saw. And, unfortunately, this is going to be kind of told through the eyes of Finesse, but anything you guys notice with other matches as well, would love to go through them and just talk about the players as they come on in any like highlight plays. But one of the things that I think both of you had mentioned was just this is not a tournament you can snooze on. This is you could almost say any team can take it. I'm looking at the bracket here, and I'm kind of comparing and going back and forth between last round, and I'm not surprised to see Finesse and Invasion and Pop That Ride or Die as looking like the top 4 or 5 teams. But was there any team that stood out to you guys the most, that improved the most without kind of putting them in a bad light? I guess we can start there, like most improved teams that you guys noticed, and we'll start with you, Brenda.
Sure. So actually the top 4 in the bracket were Invasion, Blindside came in second going into playoffs, Pop That took third, and we took fourth. And again, that just kind of goes to show how talented all these teams are, and how you can't sleep on anybody. I think like especially teams like Witness, they're a very, very talented team. They have girls that come from the Pacific Northwest. They have Kiki on their team. They have Tanya. So they're a very stacked team. And somehow they find themselves in like the second round of playoffs, always facing one of the perennial powerhouse teams. So they're always, having to face a tough team early. I think Blindside really showed out pretty well. They were led by Sam Greco, who I think her hand's finally feeling better. So they had some leadership in that regard, and they have, Alice and Alam, who have been playing Elite for a while. And, Taylor's on their team, and Taylor, she's a really good catcher, exactly like Alyssa was saying, year of the catch. Like, she plays in LA, so I don't think a lot of people know her very well, but we who, play against her in our leagues in LA know, like, you can't throw a loan at Taylor, that kind of thing. But yeah, it just kind of, I'll kind of let Alyssa take over if she wants to throw some shout outs out there.
Yeah, for sure. I'm from the Bay Area, and of course, I'm looking for an excuse to talk about
Oh,
Bay Area
perfect.
teams, but they did it for themselves, so I don't even need an excuse. In at Kelly's Women's Classic tournament, I don't know if she's rebranding to Kelly's tournament, but maybe she can now. Ride or Die placed, I think, fourth, third, and fourth in the divisions. And then in Nosting took fourth again. They're definitely showing a ton of improvement from last year and seeding higher in the brackets with every tournament that's happened this year. And then something super cool that happened for Foam was that Blackout, which is another Bay Area team, formerly Beast Mode, with only 4 players placed third in Foam in elimination, which was amazing. There were I think there were 3 people from their team who had to leave to make flights because the night was going super late. So they were like, okay, whatever, we're going to do this. It's happening. And they came in third, which was amazing with 4 people. So huge shout out and props to them for grinding for that win.
For sure, especially playing 2 players down. So did Foam, this take place on Sunday, I'm guessing then?
No, on Saturday. All of women's was on Saturday.
Okay, so they just were here for Saturday, then took off later.
Yeah, I think their flights were like maybe at 9:30 or 10, which seems like a reasonable time to book a flight after a dodgeball tournament, and it just wasn't.
Yeah, I think unless you're driving home, like you should pretty much plan to just be there all night, especially because these games are battles. I mean, I know we kind of talk about like how sometimes the score doesn't necessarily show that, but when you're looking at best 4 of 7 single elimination, and with the amount of competition that's there, you can't really just say, okay, this tournament should be done by 6 p.m. because it definitely won't happen. And I definitely want to talk about Blackout when we get into Foam, but I kind of want to go back to Blindside because they, just kind of looking at this, looks like they seeded 6th last round and then seeded second, so literal blindside. But and you said they were kind of led by Sam Greco, and I think you mentioned some other players. Are they like a mixture, or are they like all Arizona players, or are you guys familiar with them at all aside from that?
Yeah, so they're a mixture of some former players from Money Shot. Sybil's on that team, so she also brings like a veteran presence to Blindside, and some of the other girls I mentioned were part of Trophy Wives, and so they all kind of, they all have that experience to kind of go back to, and I think that helps a lot in round robin play, because in round robin, again, it's back to 2 out of 3. So, those that are pretty used to playing that style, I think have like an easier time of like knowing the importance of those 3 games, or taking 2 games off of the team. And so I think they set themselves up pretty well. But then, they met Ride or Die, who again is a veteran team that has been playing together forever. And, they're a team full of catchers. They're a team full of people that are not afraid to take a snipe, people that are not afraid to, to throw the ball. So it's great that they're performing so well. But I also wanted to give a quick shout out to Box Cats, who we Finesse played against in the first round of no single elimination in playoffs. They actually took the first 2 games off of us in that series, and they were very competitive. They were led by Kirsten Bell, who, again, like, that's a name you hear a lot.
Yeah, she's all right.
She's fantastic. I got to play with her in one of Tyler's tournaments last year, and I got to witness how much of a stud she is. So she was leading her team. I think they had a bunch of people that Arizona, I don't know what you guys do out there, but you come in and you're ready to play.
It's
Boxcats, they also seeded third in foam as well. So they had a really strong tournament.
Yeah, Boxcats.
And also,
oh, go ahead.
they did, yeah. Just to go back to Kirsten Bell, I challenge anyone to find someone who looks happier when playing dodgeball. Because Kirsten, if you ever watch her play, she's just smiling and prancing around the court. Like, she looks like she's having a great freaking time. And it's so much fun to watch her play and play against her because, I don't know, it just like makes my day. Everyone has, we see those like pictures from tournaments of everyone with serious game face. And then Kirsten is always just like a ray of sunshine, dodging and jumping around the court.
Yeah. Very prancy. Very prancy.
I don't know if I'll ever get in trouble for saying this, but like, have you guys ever seen the Lego movie?
No.
The Lego movie?
Yeah, from like years ago. Oh, dang.
Can't say I have.
There's a character called Unikitty, and that reminds me of Kirsten, just because I've known her for like years. But like you're saying, always happy, always positive, always prancing around, but at the drop of a hat, she can just murder you too. And that's kind of why that character's hilarious. But don't want to get into a rabbit hole with that one. Some people might catch the reference. But yeah, I was looking at Boxcats, and I think Tina, God, I should know her last name. I'm terrible. Like Aramburo. She's gonna kill me because I've known her for a long time. But I think she like broke her finger in foam, and she was saying they were doing pretty good.
She's the tall one, right?
Yes.
Yeah. She's a good catcher, man. You should know her last name.
Well, I do. I just don't know how to say it, and like I'm so embarrassed.
Wait, is that the person who posted on Dodgeball Family with that post of like a broken finger?
Yeah. Who, by the way, when she broke it, she thought it was dislocated, so she had Izzy Bentley pop it back in place.
Oh, God. Why?
The adrenaline's there. You got to use it right then and there before you think about it. So she's pretty awesome and obviously very tough. And she was kind of bummed that she had to leave because she was kind of giving me updates while I was away. She's gonna kill me for not knowing her last name though. Aramburu.
You know it. You just don't know how to say it.
I just can't read French, if that's what it is. But yeah, then you also have Kayla Grace, who she's all right too, and then Emily and Joanna Stevens, and like I think, Grace has been to Elite a few times already. I think for a couple of years. So is Emily. I think Joanna might be fairly new, but I play with her in foam, and you're kind of asking like what we do in Arizona. We just play dodgeball as much as we can, not as much as you guys do, but I think that the heat and the drive all the way up to LA kind of all coalesces into good dodgeball, I would hope, after all this time. But so that's my bias speaking. And actually, I do have one more with Bionic, because I think I have a couple Arizona players from that team as well. But I noticed that they seeded 11th both this round and last round, which, that's awesome for consistency. But looks like they were paired up against Witness, so that was already a tough match. But did you guys get to see them at all? I think it's also Alicia Ellis's team from the South. And I want to say Ashtar Goldrick. She's on that team. Yeah, so did you guys get to see them at all during the match, or during the bracket play, or during round robin?
Yeah, we got to play against them. I believe it was no sting. They also have a few women from the LA area, and you're right, Alicia did play with them from the South. They are also a veteran style team where a lot of the girls have played elite tournaments before, but they also have it's just anytime a new team is formed, I think you kind of have to see how you mesh and how you gel together. And then the teams that want to get better, I think they take their experiences and their experiences from like a prior round, and then they look at it and they try to figure out, okay, how can we improve upon, this or this skill or that skill, or, can we call some plays or things that we can do to take out certain players on different teams. And I think that's what Union might have done, because
you mean Onion?
Onion, yeah. No, they weren't. They got their full name back. They came to play. Absolutely came to play this weekend. I know we're staying in no sting, but when we get to foam, definitely want to talk about them for sure.
Jump in seating there, and yes, I think you caught me kind of putting in notes because I was looking at last bracket. Union got 16th. For anybody that might be listening that don't know why I said Onion, last round somebody just has used for O's, and so I kept saying Onion, and it just made a big fool of myself, and it was hilarious. But it's kind of like what you were saying. I think now between round 2 and 3, and potentially next year, is when you'll see teams actually stick together, start to do better, and to go from 16th seed to 9th seed. Clearly, they probably took some notes home, practice, got that cohesion going. And it looks like it showed, and I'm really curious to hear about it when we transition into foam. And excuse me, going back to Blindside, I'm looking at it through like the lens of, this is a new team. How did they get second seed? But when you listed all the players, I'm like, okay, these are vets that are used to each other, played together for a long time, so that makes sense. And I don't think there's any new teams from this round. I'm not sure if you or Alyssa can confirm that. I think they've all been here previously, so.
I think Cherry Bomb was new. There was a team that was in Arizona that we never had to play against. They wore all red, and I don't remember their team name.
Hot Tamales.
Yeah.
Oh, it was Hot Tamales.
Yep.
Yeah. So they weren't there, but Cherry Bomb was there.
Yeah, Cherry Bomb was there last round too.
Where is Cherry Bomb a type of candy also? Because that's awesome.
Sounds like it would be. I don't know why it would not. And it looks like they had a pretty good run against Blindside, taking 2 points off of them before they lost 4-2.
Yeah.
Well, let's get into some of the actual matches that you guys had. So off the bat, actually, I'm gonna pick on you guys a little bit. What happened, like going from first seed last round to fourth? I think you kind of mentioned some teams kind of just showed up and brought it a little bit more than they were used to, or did you guys have like a couple of hiccups, or can you kind of explain what happened, if that impacted you guys at all, or just what was your take on coming into this bracket as fourth?
Yeah, I can go first. I think and I kind of alluded to this previously, but I think, and I feel like a lot of teams felt this, it was really hard to get into a groove when you were playing just because of the stop and go nature of round 2. Like in round 1, we would have, I think, max like 2 games off at once. So if you talked about something as a team, it was really quick to get back on the court, address it, and be like, oh yeah, that gelled, that worked. But in this tournament, we would kind of like talk, and then someone would be reffing, other people would be stretching. We would have, 15 minutes, half an hour of just downtime, and then kind of come back and have to get it back together again. And it just felt harder in different ways, both physically and as like trying to find a flow as a team.
That's a really good point.
Brenda,
go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, I was going to say that's actually a really good point. I didn't pick up on it the first time when you kind of mentioned that, like how, I won't say like jarring that could be, but like you can definitely tell. So from my experience, Rise, they're always together except for the couple that might be reffing. And other teams do this too, but they just stick out in my memory since I've known them for like 80 years. But they're always together, and they always have that like that the team stays in the same area versus, some other teams, like people are reffing, people are shagging, people are, hanging out in the parking lot. And I just wonder, like, I don't know if you can measure it, but just the teams that can actually stick together, talk about what happened, go apply it immediately in the next game, or just not be distracted by a million other things. Like, I wonder if that's another thing we could start pointing to, like, if you guys get that chance to stay together in between games, if that's going to make or break or make the difference between performing well and not. But clearly you guys did something to kind of correct that. So did you have some input on that too, Brenda, or did that even phase you at all? Because I know every time I ask you if something that I think would phase you, you're just like, no, it didn't bother me, just focused on the mission at hand.
No, it didn't bother me, just focused on the mission at hand.
Yeah, I figured you already knew it.
Yeah. No. No, I completely agree with what Alyssa's saying. I think more than just the break being, hard because people were repping and whatnot, it does physically take a toll when you're constantly going from adrenaline rushes to dumps and rush to dumps. So it's like your body physically, you know, it runs a little bit better when you aren't stopping and going and stopping like that.
Right.
But that's just like a physiological thing. I think it definitely does help when the team's able to stay together, talk about something, and then go fix it. And I think that's why in the playoffs, it was a little bit more our style, where, you know, like I said, we dropped 2 to box cats right away, and then we finally found our rhythm again, and we were able to close it out with the next 4 wins. And then, you know, it's hard, you know, if you picture like a basketball game where that's kind of like how I compare, or like a volleyball game or something. You know, the players that sit and have to come off the bench, they have to like really be ready, like, and it's hard to be like that. I don't think a lot of us were used to that. So it's something that we're going to have to talk about and figure out, you know, because we don't know going into the tournaments what the situation of the number of courts is going to be. So that might happen to us again, and we are probably going to have to figure out a way to stay warm the whole time.
Yeah, that's actually, so, you know, kind of talking about how last, you know, 2018 was, you know, unofficially the year of the holy crap, this is real, or taking this seriously. There's so many other factors now that just go beyond, okay, eat right, you know, work out, condition yourself, play dodgeball, throw hard, catch everything. You also have to factor in, you know, like you have to do intel, you have to watch film, you have to think about how this venue is going to be a little bit different than the last venue. And then also, okay, now we have to figure out how do we stay warm when we have to play a game, sit for like 20 minutes, get cold, and then jump in and not have a team get the jump on us. And I guess fortunately that's probably one of the good things about single elimination that we kind of talked about too. It's like you may give up a game or two. I don't want to say an accident, because I definitely don't want to take away from Bobcats, but you get a chance.
Oh, not at all. No, they earned every single win that they got on us, for sure.
Right. But you still had a chance to like kind of gather your thoughts, so to speak, or rally everybody and pull through with that win. Otherwise, you guys would have been knocked out if that was 2 out of 3, I imagine. So there's that. But yeah, I just wonder, one of those things, like what will we see in the future? Are we going to see more teams kind of like warming up, or, you know, teams lounging around, or just, you know, what do you do to stay warm? So that's definitely more things to consider down the road. But I know it was a while ago, Alyssa, I kind of cut you off on accident, but did you have any more input on that? Just the variance in seating, or?
No, I think that was it.
Gotcha. Well, let's go ahead and get into just the specific matches that you guys had. Because I definitely want to talk about Fuego. Looking at, again, last bracket, they seeded 5th. Looks like they did that again. So I would dare to say they're pretty consistent. But what was your match against them like? You know, I see 4-2, but and this can go for either of you if you want to tag team it, just how that matchup went and who are some of the key players that you can recall from that match.
Well, Fuego, they're always a really competitive team, and every game against them, it's a tough match. You know, they're seasoned. They play really well together. They feed off each other really well. They picked up Sarah from formerly Trophy Wives, who holds down a sit corner. Like, she's very crafty and very hard to get out. And then, you know, they're led by Christina Simos and Ryan Johnson, who are veterans in themselves and really good leaders and team leaders. And then they also have Jess Sexton, who is one of the best dodgers in the game. Great arm, great catcher, very, very good athlete. And then they have Elena Meeks, who hit me in the face, and I'll never forgive her for that.
Terrible person. Awful. The worst.
Yeah. No, our friendship is over. So, and she knows it. And then they also have Emmy Zappa, and, she's a stud. Can't throw it her by herself. She'll catch everything that comes at her.
Yeah, and she'll make it look really flashy and have one leg straight up in the air, and it'll be an amazing meme competition.
Oh, yeah. No, for sure.
She's like a human pretzel.
That's a good way to put it.
Totally.
She, when she, will kind of, kneel and lean back, I'm just like, wow, I don't think I've ever been able to do that in my life. And I'm I guess on the older side of dodgeball players now. But she's consistently the last person in. She's such a tricky out. And her counters and snipes are, since she's started playing more competitively, they've become so accurate, and she'll get you every time when you least expect it.
Definitely.
Just got to pay attention to her at all times and just throw 3 feet underneath her just to potentially get her.
No, because then she'll balance on one toenail and catch you. So.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah,
exactly.
They also picked up a girl named Parker, who I forgive me if I'm wrong on this, but I feel like she just started playing a few months ago. I don't know for sure, but I'd never seen her play until Kelly's tournament a couple weeks ago. And I don't think I've ever seen someone pick up dodgeball so quickly and so easily. So I don't know if she just started playing, but if she did, she's definitely someone to watch out for.
And who is this again? I'm sorry.
Her name's Parker. I don't know her last name or anything, because she's always, I think she was wearing Elena's jersey, or maybe she's wearing Jess's jersey, but she's just very athletic and kind of picked up on the game really fast and really well. She's good. She's got a really good cannon.
Might be a stretch, but Falcon Parker, maybe?
But
that's somebody from another region, I think. And
maybe
that's only coming up because I don't know how you forget a name with Falcon like that. That's a fantastic name. So I don't know if that's her, maybe, but I'm sure somebody will correct me. And you remind me of Shelby Grimes. I remember I got to the point in the recap earlier when I was listening about her. Did you get to see any of her plays? Or because I think she was not new, but I think she was one of the players to look out for that was kind of, I don't want to say barely getting mentioned, but getting more noticed. Any input on her by chance, Brenda? Or
yeah, Shelby Grimness.
Grimness. Oh my God.
Yeah, I got the pronunciation. I asked.
Okay.
I did my research. She actually played on Aztecs, who they were led by MJ Rios and Sum, and my girlfriend actually played her first elite tournament, and she played on their team, so that was really fun. And they did really well. They did so well. But yeah, Shelby's she's the same kind of player in terms of when she's on the court by herself, you never call out hey, throw it, Shelby, by herself. You're always going to put 2 balls on her. So yeah, she did really well in this tournament for sure.
It's awesome. Do you guys get competitive watching each other play, or does it phase you at all? Or are you just there for business?
Me and my girlfriend, Jen?
Yes. Yep.
Well, she's cooler than me in all the ways. So we definitely don't get competitive. But you can all whenever she does something, I scream too loud. Way too loud. But I'm just so excited that I just start screaming.
Nice.
Yeah.
I noticed that you, Brenda, have you posted anything on the Dodgeball family thread about relationships in dodgeball? Or have you been selectively quiet?
Listen, I haven't written anything yet because I'm afraid if I do, I might lose my spot on Finesse, and you guys are going to pick Jen up, and I don't think I can handle that right now. So we've talked about it.
I see.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
All right. I'll won't dig into that one. Curious now, but I'll leave it. Well, speaking of research, Tina's last name is pronounced Arambaru, so redemption time for me there. Just had to.
Is that that's not French?
That is not French ever.
Well,
that's the least French thing I've ever heard.
Listen, I have no excuse. I'm just a terrible person. You got me. Moving on. Then get me off the X here. Let's talk about your battle with Invasion. What was that like?
Alyssa, you want this one?
Sure. I think going into this game, we were definitely remembering round robin. Invasion 2-0'd us in round robin. And it was one of those, like, correct me if I'm wrong, Brenda, but it was one of those ones where we were, like, coming off of a 3-game sit. And then it happened. We were like, what just happened? Get it together. So coming back into this game, we were like, okay, focus. We know what we need to do. Playing Invasion is so challenging because they're such a dynamic team. Like everyone on that team can pop out clutch catches. Everyone on that team isn't afraid to go up to the line and push your team back. And everyone on that team is a pretty skilled dodger. So just going into that game, like having all that in mind, we kind of had our work cut out for us. From what I can remember, I think and Brenda, correct me if I'm wrong, I think we went up 2-0 and then they came back and took 1 and it went back and forth for the rest.
That sounds right.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, and just, Invasion's one of those teams that, again, has such a way about them that they can catch you off guard, and if they catch you off guard, then all of a sudden you are down 6 players to 1.
You're gonna pay for it.
And they're definitely led by Kate, Gong, and Nicole Chasen, but I don't think enough can be said about like Joanna Munoz, who has just turned her game up a notch completely. Like, she works that corner, and you can't sleep on her because now she's got such a good cannon that if she lets it rip on you, like, you're done. And so they're a fun team to play against because we match up very differently against each other. And that, forces, our team to, have to stay within ourselves and not try to match their style. So it's just, it's just 2 really seasoned, powerful teams going against each other. So it's always a fun game against them.
This is one of those battles where, like, people that can watch just kind of just stuck, just staring, seeing who's going to win, because it could be anybody at any time.
Yeah, I think that we provide a lot of good, catches and throws and teamwork and that kind of thing on both ends. So being able to beat them in the playoffs, it felt really good, especially like Alyssa said, because we, did not play well against them in the round robin.
Gotcha. And it looks like from last round it was 4-3, so they almost took you guys for the championship. So kind of being able to move them out of the way, finish a little bit stronger than with your 4-2 win this time. Just seemed like you had the better hand. And I mean, I don't know what else you can expect when you're playing against teams that have, Team USA gold medal winners. So that's a huge feat for anybody.
Yeah, we got some of those ourselves too, though.
Yeah,
this is true. We do. So gold on gold, awesome. I mean, in the long run for us, like for us on the outside, yay, Team USA wins all the time because of these awesome players. But yeah, it's I feel like if I may be so bold, it could be one of those. It could be anybody's game. Like it's just who's gonna make that extra catch or that extra throw or what have you to turn everything around. But
totally.
You guys didn't get to play Pop That last time, so it looks like you got to this time. And do you guys remember what the score was by any chance? Because it's not written on the bracket here.
It was either 4-1 or 4-2.
It's a pretty decisive win. I guess might be fair to say, or do you remember what that match was like?
It I don't like using the term decisive because that kind of puts a like a negative spin on it, because the score doesn't always reflect how tight some games were in any aspect in any game. But I think once we were able to beat Invasion, our confidence was way up, and I think everyone on our team kind of was firing on all cylinders, and our plays were working, and we were all listening to each other really well. Alyssa, you wanna take some?
Yeah, a lot of this weekend is a blur, as most tournaments become. But I feel like the things that I remember from this match and from foam, I tend to play more on the right side. And I feel like I just spent every time we played Pop That, or what was the other team? FTFB. I feel like I was just constantly staring at Azalea and Rachel because they have such cannons and they're such smart players that you never know what's going to happen or what they're going to do. Their pump fakes are on point. Their snipes and counters are on point, and they dodge really well. They catch really well. So just playing up against them, like you could feel the pressure from that left side the entire time. Mm-hmm. I also do recall that there were a series of extremely unfortunate headshots in this game. And it was, I'll speak for myself because I've read a couple of controversial threads about headshots in the recent past. I feel like when it comes to headshots for myself, do I like getting people out? Yes. Do I want to blast people in the face? No. And it just felt like I think we had like 2 or 3. Poor Shannon, I love you. Shannon got hit in the face a lot. And then still got up and smiled and was like, no, that was a great game. Let's do it again. And that's what I remember in the high five line in between games.
Yeah, I don't want to sort of pop about headshots, but like I agree with you. I'm obviously you want to celebrate the out, but I normally don't go for the face just because I don't want to win that way. Like very rarely will I go for somebody's face, like intentionally. If I hit somebody in the head, it's usually an accident because they I don't know, they ducked or they jumped or I was trying to throw away from them. But I don't know, Brenda, do you have any weigh in on headshots and where you stand with those?
Well, I just told you that I ended my friendship with Elena because of it.
This is true.
Well, I don't like headshots. I myself have had many concussions. Not all mostly not dodgeball related, but prior athletic related. So I actually wear a headband that's padded because of all the headshots and all the head trauma that I've experienced. So I tend to be very sensitive about about headshots, and I, same like with you, Steve, I really try not to like, aim high, but sometimes your arm's tired or something, and the throw just doesn't end up coming off your hand the right way, and it just kind of soars up. And if someone jumps, or accidents happen sometimes like that.
Yeah.
So and I understand that happens on some people's ends as well, against our team. But I know this topic is very controversial, but just for my personal, like, outside of dodgeball life, I try to be very sensitive to people that have experienced many head traumas, because it's more than just getting hit in the face or, a concussion. Like, there's a lot of after effects that I personally have experienced, and we can talk about that another time. But yeah, so like when Shannon, takes a couple shots to the face, like, I'm always, as her friend, I like, deep inside, I'm like, God, like, that hurts. And I hope that she's not suffering outside of dodgeball, or anyone suffering outside of dodgeball from getting a headshot, because that it's a brutal world post-traumatic head injury. But yeah, I know we didn't mean to go down that road, so we can figure our way out of it.
Yeah, I just wanted to like dip my toe in and then get out of there before you get stuck. But all right, so let's go ahead and move into foam real quick. And we kind of talked about some of the teams previously when we were kind of doing like the overall before we got into no sting. But I kind of just want to do the same thing as we did with no sting, and that just kind of talk about your point of view. So looks like your first matchup was against Fuego, and going back just a little bit, Brenda, was it still hard for you, or was it ever hard for you to switch from no sting to foam?
Well, throwing the weight, like, for anyone that says it's not different, it's completely different.
They're wrong.
Yeah, it's completely different. So, I definitely felt the effects of it on Sunday, from going from no sting to foam. I noticed that my bicep was a little bit more fatigued and sore than it was like in Kelly's tournament where we started with foam. Right. But that kind of takes some getting used to the ball again. But yeah, I think, once you kind of get back into the swing of like what we're actually doing here, which is playing dodgeball, then the throws and everything kind of, you kind of get back to it. But I noticed the balls, they were super light. They felt a lot lighter than usual. But again, that could have just been because we went from no sting to foam. Yeah, just to back what you said, there is a definite difference, and foam is substantially lighter than no sting. They're not the same, and different trajectory and different type of release and all that good stuff. But I actually wanted to ask you, Alyssa, too, do you have a preference? Like, is no sting more your game versus foam, or do you?
Yeah, I definitely like foam. It's for sure the ball that I'm less experienced in. In the Bay Area, we don't have any foam leagues. So it's either no sting or we have one 8.5 league one night a week. Awesome. So yeah, we're doing a ton of no sting. I wouldn't say I dislike foam. I just don't have as much experience with it. So it's definitely something that we're kind of now starting to talk about getting more experience within the Bay. Right. And maybe even like introducing it on a night of rec dodgeball. Who would think?
How about that?
I feel like it's really fun to play. I can't grip an 8.5 ball to save my life. So to have another type of ball to play with is really fun and challenging. And it brings kind of like a newness to the sport of like, if I feel good about nosing, like I still need to master this, or it's like that added challenge that I think a lot of other people might feel when they go and play 8.5 instead of no-sting. But yeah, I definitely enjoy it. It is for sure rough on the arm to go from no-sting to foam. I think there were a few times when I threw and I was like, interesting. Cannot feel my fingers anymore. Don't know why.
That's not good at
Maybe
all.
I have nerve damage. And
Cool.
Yeah. Fun fact.
Neat.
Similarly to Brenda, had a slight bicep issue on Sunday. Shout out to Paige Peterson for that great deep tissue massage you gave me. Yeah, it was a rough go of it on Sunday. And I think, again, like looking back at round one, it didn't seem to be that big of a deal. Like I didn't feel Sunday was hard, but not as hard as it was this time. And I'm wondering just if having the Women's Classic 2 weeks before this tournament meant that like a lot of women especially didn't have the recovery that they usually have in between these like big nonstop go weekend tournaments. So I'm definitely on the men and on the recovery right now coming out of this tournament as compared to round one.
Gotcha. Yeah, I was initially laughing because when you said when I threw my first foam ball, I thought like maybe it just went 3 feet in front of you or 80 feet in the air to the far left, not nerve damage. So I didn't mean to laugh at that part. I was laughing.
Oh, no, it's fine. Please laugh at my nerves. I hope that
please laugh at my
enjoy.
expense. Yeah. Well, kind of wanted to talk about real quick just some of the differences that I saw. Because I remember it looks like Scrap took first last round, but they took 9. Do either of you guys remember seeing them play this round? Like, do you know what could have pointed to that or how they looked? Because I remember they were kind of like the topic of discussion at first last round, so I just wanted to kind of visit them real quick before we moved into your actual like pathway.
So
are you referring to like the Scrap FTFB combo or just Scrap on its own for this one?
Either or. What was what do you mean the FTFB combo? Like the matchup or?
Well, no, just because the team Scrap and FTFB are a mix-up of Pop That and Invasion players, and each tournament for foam they're remixing.
Oh, I see.
So in round one, the team that was Scrap was different. Some players were shifted from round one to this team, and then the same with FTFB.
That's interesting. Okay, so it's same name but different team switching back and forth between two teams. That's kind of cool. Probably drives Mark crazy, but interesting. Okay, so because that might be a loaded question, like, oh well, what was the difference this time? But I don't want to really call anybody out. Let's see. I think we might just, unless you guys have anything to say about this squad or this version of Scrap, we could probably just move into your matchup against Fuego.
Yeah, I don't actually, Alyssa, I don't know did we face Scrap in round robin? I don't know if we did. I know we played FTFB in round robin.
I don't even know. I'm still picturing one team as a team from the first round because I remember it was all of the short people and then Brittany, and then the other team had all the tall people, and I can't even tell you which one it was because they all wear a black long sleeve shirt with a different white logo.
Huh.
So I can't even picture like what was on the shirt to distinguish between them.
Just the way you
I think if you wanted to discuss something, it could be the mystery of what is FTFB.
That's weird. I was just going to ask because I don't think we solved that
I saw that
last round. What?
Yeah.
Do we know what that is?
I've heard speculation.
Is this PG rated speculation?
Not entirely.
Let me get the bleeper ready and go ahead and spout out what you think it might be.
Spell out?
Or say it out. I meant, what do you think FTFB means?
I've heard that it could mean.
Okay. bleeping out most of that, but all right.
Is this official right now? This is like on air or off air?
Well, I mean, I'm definitely gonna bleep that part, so
Okay, great.
people just have to put
I saw
that
in your
boy.
notes as like you can add the jokes or inside joke thing. So I didn't know if you wanted to like discuss it.
You know, I might bleep the whole thing out and see if people just want to guess. But
yeah, I think like stirring the pot on like creative interpretations. I feel like the mystery of it is half the fun.
Yeah,
What is FTFB?
I'll just bleep the whole thing. That way, people can't put together the words. And
that's funny. Do that.
Yeah, I'm gonna do that. But for me, that I got to hear it. That seems like a viable candidate. I would. I'd go with that. Who's the captain of that team?
It changes.
Dang it!
Yeah,
that doesn't help me at all.
Every time.
This existent team that rotates rosters and names and acronyms, and very well then. Well, let's go into your match against Fuego with Foam. Because I think you played against them. Yeah, it's 4-2 and no sting. What was the difference this round with Foam? If you guys can remember.
I think that like once we kind of got things rolling with Foam again, I think it really took us round robin to recover from no sting. But once we got our seed and everything for playoffs, most of our team, Finesse, we do play Foam a lot. And Alyssa, for someone that doesn't play Foam, you pick it up very, very well, like expertly. So,
thanks, Brenda.
No, you're welcome.
Go on, continue to talk about me.
Oh, that's so nice. Keep going.
Continue.
But so I think we kind of we got our Foam, our Foam fix in once round robin was over and playoffs started. We kind of realized like, okay, we're back in like what's the task at hand? The task at hand is to win, advance, keep going. So having played Fuego, I think having played Fuego in no sting was helpful for us, because then we kind of got to see their style and what kind of their approach was going to be for this tournament in picking up Sarah. And I think we Finesse kind of are able to adapt pretty fast, like in best of 7 series. When we kind of see how things are going, we're able to kind of fix things on as we go. So playing against Fuego, from what I can remember, we had a lot of catches, and I think that helped us. Catches kind of changed the momentum of everything. So I think those catches really kind of helped us gain our confidence. And then we started hitting our shots, getting our spots, like things were kind of flowing for us.
Nice. Yeah, it looks like you guys dropped a seed placement from last round, 6th to 7th, but doesn't look like that really affected you too much because, and again, I know it says 4-0, but I'm sure each match was each game was a battle. But you moved on to Blindside, who is it fair to say that they brought the same intensity as they did going into from no sting into Foam? Like, were they pretty much the same team, just different ball style, or what can you remember from that team and from that matchup?
Alyssa, you want to take it?
Sure. Correct me if I'm wrong. I believe they were also playing a person down because Taylor was suffering from severe leg cramps.
Ew.
She was cramping up all day.
Mm-hmm.
And I think she ended up playing in the game, but she was just not herself at all. So it was hard for them, I think. because she's such a important part of their team, and to have her not being able to like perform the way that she usually does, I think was hard for them.
Yeah, I feel like because Taylor's the person who's, I mean, if you throw at Taylor anywhere above the knees or below the neck, you need to reevaluate your life choices.
Pay for it.
But I feel like there was at least one game that I know I watched this weekend where she made like a game-saving catch at the end of the game because she was the last person in. So to not have her during elimination when you like need those clutch plays, I think was challenging for them. But also they beat us the first game and we turned around and we were like, wait, there's only 5 of them. What is going on? So it was one of those, like what Brenda was saying of like, we're like in those moments, like we're super adaptive to like, oh, this is what keeps happening. Like we need to address that. And I think that's definitely one of the strengths of our team that like gets us further in bracket play. I personally have never, like not being a foam player, haven't played against Sam Greco before. And I know just from noticing her reputation as a catcher, but holy cow, like and it could be the same in nosing. I've never noticed it, but her throws in foam blew me away. I had no idea that she had that much of a cannon. And it was really awesome to see her stepping up as a thrower, where I feel like in past seasons, she's been like a catcher who kind of also hangs back and is that last person on the court catching teammates back in. Also notable players were Alice Chung in the corner. I like her. She puts so much pressure on you, like you're trying to make a play call, and then there she is bobbing there in the corner of your eye, making you really anxious
Uneasy.
every time you're trying to think straight. Those are the 2 players I remember really standing out in that series as putting pressure on us as a team.
Yeah, Sam's pretty awesome, really good player all around, and phenomenal catcher. And I was wondering if she was still playing. She's kind of in and out of the local scene here in AZ. I think she played in the foam and no sting leagues. I'm not sure. Memory's a little fuzzy, but it's always good to hear her name. I mean, it's good to hear anybody from Arizona giving you guys a hard time. Makes me happy. Going back to Taylor, the person that was had the cramps. What was her last name?
Pescara.
Pescara. Is she LA or Bay Area? Where's she from? Do we know?
Yeah, she's from LA.
Got it. It's a new name.
Pescara.
Gotcha. Not French, so Pescara should be able to.
It could be.
That.
Who knows?
They're all French. Every name is French based. But let's go into to Cherry, because you both mentioned that they were pretty awesome cherry bomb for foam. But from your standpoint, what do you guys remember from them? And this could be from your match or just from what you guys had seen in round robin or throughout the bracket.
Well, they were comprised.
We didn't play them until bracket, I don't think either, right?
No, we didn't.
Didn't get them in round
we
robin?
didn't. No. But they were comprised of a couple different girls, a few from LA that play in like the local leagues out here, and then some other women I wasn't super familiar with, but yeah, I'm not sure how they finished in no sting, but they came out firing in foam, and I think took advantage of the fact that other teams, didn't have as much foam experience. Like, I don't even know if they had that much foam experience, but I think that those teams that are notoriously like no sting teams, who take to foam the fastest, are the ones that are like the most successful in the foam in the round in elite rounds.
Gotcha. Yeah, it definitely looked like they improved considerably, because looking at last round, they didn't go past the first round. They lost to Invasion in no sting, and then into FTFB for foam, and then they seeded 14th as well. But this round they seeded 11th and beat Onyx, then Aztec. So they obviously went a little bit further. Unfortunately, it doesn't have the score, so I'm not really sure how much of a hard time they might have given you guys. But the fact that they were contending for third is saying a lot too. Looks like they almost took third, 2-1. So
I think that Cherry Bomb is the single-handed reason why the tournament went until 9:30. I remember Allie kind of like walking around. I was watching the Blackout FTFB game, and that game had ended, and we were waiting for the Cherry Bomb Aztecs game so that we could play the winner of that game. And Blackout was already set in the third place game, and then Cherry Bomb was two rounds behind, I think, because all of their bracket play was so intense. Like in both their first series and their second series, it went to 3 out of 4 games, and they won the 4th game to move on. And those games were just so intense. Like they were a super, I guess I want to say scrappy team, but not scrap as in the scrap team, but like scrappy as in coming back and like grinding and working really hard. And that definitely showed in them advancing this far in Brenda, did you say this was their first or second tournament? Because I think that
this was their second, but they brought some different players this time.
Yeah, really awesome outcome for like being that new to an elite tournament.
I'll say, I mean, and again, to go from being knocked out first round, last round, round 1 to contending for third, I mean, 4th place, that's a heck of an improvement, especially against some of these other teams that have, been around for a little bit longer that we talked about. Not to take away from them by any means, but yeah, 3-4 against Onyx, 3-4 against Aztecs. I don't have the score for you guys, unfortunately, but 2-1, I mean, making every single match count and fighting for every single win. I'm sure they frustrated a lot of teams, and just like you said, probably is one of the reasons why it went so long. But what do you guys remember from the finals match against FTFB? I mean, that looked like that was a battle. Just again, not saying that the score tells you that, but 4-3 looks like it was pretty close. Can you kind of walk me through that one?
Yeah, it was a tough game.
It was back and forth like every game. Yeah. I'm pretty sure. I just remember I feel like when you're playing and your team is like slightly ahead, especially in this 4 out of 7 format, because you have so much further to go just to like move on to the next level. You get that feeling when your team is like, oh, we have one more person on the court than the other team. Like, I feel slightly at ease. And then all of a sudden, like somebody makes a catch, you're like, oh my God, I have so much anxiety right now. What's happening? And it was like that the entire time. I mean, like, if anyone wasn't exhausted at that point, I want whatever pre-workout they're drinking. But I just felt like the entire time it was stressful to play, exciting to play, and like amazing plays on both sides to watch.
Nice.
Yeah, it was definitely a battle of like, I guess like who could outlast the other team. And I think it was definitely a great matchup. Because at that point, like I said, we had kind of come into our own and back in our foam ways. But it was 3-3, and I remember I think we had an opportunity to it might have been, we had 3 and they had 2. We had like an opportunity to close things out, and I think someone threw a catch. Azalea caught someone, I forget who. Someone got one of our other players out, and then all of a sudden it was like Alyssa was saying, all of a sudden it was like 2 FTFB versus 1 Finesse. So, and they, having been seasoned in foam and having gone and played on Team USA and won gold and whatnot, like, and led by Nicole Chasen, who is one of the people that is on the selection committee of Team USA. obviously she has, an extensive background in being successful in the sport. She definitely led them and, helped players like Angelique really shine in foam. Like she really, really stepped up to the plate. A lot of the player, like, I don't know how they shuffled up their teams, but FTFD ended up being almost predominantly Invasion players, minus Azalea. That from what I can remember right now, and I know I'm missing somebody, but I'm just picturing Lauren Hoffman. Lauren Hoffman was on their team as well. And so she's, she always provides a threat. You can never just throw one ball at Lauren. Like you always have to kind of plan your attacks. And then they had Katie Sanchez, who again is from Arizona. So obviously you like her better than you like anyone else. That's talking to you, Steve.
I mean, I was like, I don't know how to. Yeah, no, maybe. I mean, also known
You're like,
Katie.
yeah, I can't say it on the podcast, but it's true.
I love Katie. I mean, I've known her for 10 years now. Went to her wedding with Tony in Rocky Point. So yeah, but
I knew it.
I still like you a lot, Brenda and Alyssa now.
Aww.
So.
Oh, thanks.
But yeah, they're just it was just a team full of like leadership. And so, when Azalea made a very clutch catch, it was like, okay, well, we gave it our best shot.
Like, what can you do? I mean, you're facing off against that kind of talent.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was wondering because
that's not to say that we didn't play well. Like we did play well. They just played really well.
Yep. They just had a little more there going their way that day, I guess, or that night or evening.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then again, it's maybe different story if it was 4-0, 4-1, but 3-4 is pretty. Looks like again, just on paper, looks like a pretty solid matchup. And I'm noticing last round it was scrap against you guys in the finals, and then I almost want to say maybe it was like the same players. I'd have to look at the lineup and maybe look at some of the footage and see like if it was the same team, just different name, or what that was about. But I'm really curious how the top 4 team rule roster changes, whatever, might impact this at all. But that's a whole can of worms I don't really want to necessarily open right now. But because I'm sure that'd be fun. Sorry, Mark, in advance maybe. But
I heard a rumor. Is that rumor true, Brenda, that there's not women's foam will not be at nationals and does not affect standings? Is that true?
Huh.
I don't know. I've heard that as well. I'm not sure what they're gonna do with it. Maybe round 3 will be like a finals of foam. I'm not sure.
Oh, so foam's not going to be at nationals potentially? That's what we're thinking.
Yeah, I think they're keeping it the same to keep co-ed 8.5 at nationals is what I've heard. But who knows these things?
Not me.
Any of us for sure.
Definitely not.
Definitely not being co. I really have no idea. So, Well, I take that can of worms back and kind of want to open up another one then. Just wonder if foam is going to become a national thing next year. But that's all maybe for another time. Because, yeah, I mean, shoot, we're already going into a day and a half for the West. So it's just a lot of dodgeball to try to get out of the way. But I think that's all I had as far as, the brackets and just kind of recapping everything from your guys' perspective. But as we start to wrap up, and we'll start with you, Brenda, was there any final thoughts that you had for round 2 going into round 3, or anything that you wanted to throw out there before we wrap up?
I just think that women's dodgeball is moving in a really positive direction. I think the fact, like I said, that teams are getting better every single time is a testament to how important this this sport is to people, and just women especially. That's what we're talking about. And it's really kind of amazing to share the court with such strong women, both on on the finesse side and also on whatever team that we're playing against. It's really fun. I love dodgeball, and I love any chance that I get to play, especially with these girls.
Awesome. How about you, Alyssa?
I would say the same, and I would add that I feel like in this tournament this past weekend, there are so many excellent examples of sportsmanship and of people supporting each other, which makes these tournaments I can still remember my first elite tournament and being like, oh my God, what's happening? This is so scary. I don't know any of these people. And just seeing how at that point in time, maybe 3 years ago, we were a Bay Area team going to a very LA based tournament. Whereas now there's lots of teams from all over, and just kind of seeing how women are really out there supporting each other, no matter what the team, whether that's people shagging for each other, people playing each other and complimenting really awesome plays, even if it ends up with one team losing and another team winning. And just, I really appreciate that about this sport. And it's not an easy thing to throw balls at each other and then walk up to each other and compliment each other in the high five line, and just really want to see that continuing and flowing in the next tournaments.
Yeah, it's weird, and I love explaining this to friends of mine outside of dodgeball and coworkers and whatever. Just we play a game where the point is to throw a projectile at this person, and obviously you want to hit them hard, not out of not trying to be malicious, but you obviously don't want them to catch them. So it's a very I don't want to say personal, but very in your face aggressive sport. But once it's all said and done, most of us can go hang out at a bar and be friends. I say most of us because I guess Brenda Kramer and Alana Meek's friendship, rest in peace, is done. But for the rest of us,
you just called her Alana. Your friendship is over too.
Oh, she knows I can't say her name right.
That's the French pronunciation of Elena. Brenda, come on. I learned nothing about Steve.
I guess there are just a couple people I know their name, I know how to say it, I've asked 30,000 times already, but I'm just gonna overthink it anyway. I know it's Elena, but I'm old. I'm just old and senile.
Steve, you're doing a tough job. We appreciate you.
Yeah, Elena, if you're listening, I'm sorry. I'll probably forget your name again when I see you again, because it's just, hey, it's Elena. No, what if it's Alana though? I've heard it once. Oh well. Now I'm just going to walk away awkwardly because I don't know how to say hi to you. That's what's going to happen round 3, because I'll actually be there. But thank you. But yeah, before I dig myself into any further of a grave, guys, thank you so much for hopping on and recapping. I'm really enjoying these. I think it's awesome that I'm able to have enough content to make it a separate episode instead of trying to jam everything into one, and so definitely using this as a standard practice moving forward. So I think what we'll do is just go ahead and end the interview there. All right, so that was a recap of the Elite Dodgeball West Round 2 Women's Division Tournament that took place this past Saturday, May 4th. And right off the bat, just huge congratulations to Finesse for taking the first place in No Sting Division, and FTFB for taking first place in the Foam Division. It was really cool being able to kind of watch how these teams changed and progressed from round 1 into round 2, and just seeing some of the improvements that were made and some of the differences, and just kind of get an idea of what round 3 is going to look like. As was stated by Brenda and Alyssa, it seems like it's anyone's game, so really curious to see how round 3 is going to play out, and really excited to actually get to be there so I can watch it firsthand. And also, on that note, thank you so much, Brenda and Alyssa, for hopping on, being willing to share your experience with me and help me kind of piece together what took place. It's definitely it's never an easy ask to recap, especially as a player. these weekends we live for them, and then they're just a blur. And next thing you know, we're going home and licking our wounds and walking off the soreness and looking forward to the next one. So I really appreciate anybody that's able to look back, whether it's an article, give us videos, do live streams, or produce any kind of content that lets us, just live in the moment. So huge shout out to them and anybody else that does that. It just adds to the awesomeness that's dodgeball. But before I get all heavy-winded, I'm going to go ahead and break there. So I guess we'll see you later this week for the round 2 Open Division recap. And until then, have a great rest of your evening, a great rest of your week, and we'll see you next time. Bucks versus Celtics. There's so many teams left still.
Did you just say the Celtics?
You just called them the Celtics.
Celtics.
He doesn't know basketball.
I wasn't lying, guys. I was dead serious.
The Celtics are playing the deer.
They're playing what?
The deer, the antlers. Do you see them?
Oh, that's out there. And then you get like the little the
Is it
horseshoes.
The Celtics versus
You got the Miners
versus
against
the
the
Baratheons, I'm pretty sure. Let's
Omegas.
just go there. It's happening.
Yeah,
the Wildlings. Wildlings versus Celtics.